listening to precept on precept. Kept the shim, break it down to no meat left. Line upon line in the word, make you respect. History collegiate, when we teach it, brains reset. You listening to precept on precept. Kept the shim, break it down to no meat left. Line upon line, the word make you respect. History collegiate, when we you listening to precept on precept. Kept the shim, break it down to no meat left. Line upon line in the word, make you respect. History collegiate, when we teach it, brains reset. You listening to precept on precept. Kept the shim, break it down to no meat left. Line upon line, the word make you respect. History collegiate, when we you listening to precept on precept. Kept the shim, break it down to no meat left. Line upon line in the word, make you respect. History collegiate, when we teach it, brains reset.
We are not a hate group. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group. Israel United in Christ is a nonviolent Bible-based movement. We do not advocate or condone any acts of violence against any race, ethnicity, or gender. We advise that if anyone hears or knows of any plots to cause harm to anyone or to break the laws of the land, you must contact the proper authorities to bring awareness to any possible threat as stated in Leviticus chapter 5, verse 1.
Hey, shalom, 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 Israel, Most High in Christ bless. Welcome to another Thursday evening edition of Precept Upon Precept. We are your hosts. My name is Captain Shem, and to your left,
Officer Mikael.
Officer Micah.
Tonight we are going to keep the energy flowing all week on all the radio shows, from the Sabbath Bishop's Fire class all the way, the radio shows all the way through. We're going to continue on with that energy. Let's pull that thumbnail up before we get to the Watchman Report. I just want everyone to meditate on this real quick. So, Mikael, I want you, Officer Mikael, explain this to us, because there's a lot of the subtleties going on here, but just give us the breakdown here.
So first of all, that American flag, it has the matrix code in it, because that's actually the whole point of the SPLC and their so-called hate group list, is to keep people plugged into the matrix. Then we see the Edomite, who's very, very red. The Caucasian supremacy, that's what the whole, him with the being muscular, and, you know, we got the little Jewish guy down there, because they're actually the ones that's behind all of it.
All praises. And when you look at the word, it says Caucasian supremacy is the root. Examine the SPLC, one of the offshoots. All it is one part. And tonight we're going to go into this, the history, and I think a lot of you are going to get some understanding you didn't know had happened and how it was formed. In the meantime, we're going to take it to Officer Micah. He brings us the quick news with the Watchman Report for you to stay in tune to what's going on throughout the world. Take it away, Officer Micah.
Yes, sir. Hey, shalom, Israel, Most High in Christ bless. Good evening, good evening. All right, let's roll right into it. Man pulled over for window tint violation. Killed. Police footage released. So let's make sure we're keeping the laws of the land. All right, next article, please. Russian fighter jets can't control the air over Ukraine, and Russia's attack helicopters are paying for it. So, hey, the Most High turning it up. Next article, please. Tennessee school resource officer busts produce delivery driver with suspected fentanyl-loaded gun on campus. So things are getting bad. We got to keep the commandments, y'all. Let's go. Next article. Democrats fire back as Trump announces presidential bid. Orange man at it again. Next article. This dude. Overtitle it. Video shows unarmed guard preventing gunmen from entering treatment clinic. Jake holding off the devil, trying to get in there and shoot some people. Boy, I tell you, Esau, boy, his spirit ain't right. Next article. Man, I already read that one. There we go. Gunman killed 5 in Colorado LGBTQ nightclub before he is stopped by patrons. So he didn't get put to death. He just killed some people. So this concludes the Watchman Report.
So all praise to the Most High, all praises. Look, this just came to me. I want to just show everybody something because a lot of people will talk about, number one, everything that you see us have been doing with the marching. If you notice when we come together, like we were in New York, right? An uncertain number. It was a lot of us, just put it that way. If you notice, nobody did anything violent. There was perfect order, peace. Even when people tried to get by, we let people by because we understood the laws and how to move on the public areas. But I want to share the first 2 minutes of a video by a pretty objective brother. He's called, I think he's called Professor Black Truth. And he necessarily doesn't agree with everything we teach, but he gave a pretty much an unbiased review of what we did. And I want to play the first 2 minutes of the video is entitled Kyrie's Army Takes New York. But again, like Bishop Nathaniel stated on several times, we've never met Kyrie, nor do we claim him being part of IUIC. But like Bishop said, look, when a black man stands up for something that is biblically true and he's getting lynched in the media, even after the man done 12 apologies and all, 6-step program, and they're still destroying this guy, okay? We stand for that, all right? And so we're not Kyrie's army. We're the Most High's army, and we happen to be there supporting what the brother stood for biblically. That's it. And not just him. Many other black men have been ostracized. Not just these brothers of late. It has been happening for decades, okay? Now, play that video.
Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the moment of truth.
So this brother's name is the Professor, and I don't know too much about the brother other than the video has almost 500,000 hits. I think if I'm not mistaken, 400,000, something like that. I could be wrong. Let me see. So not quite 500,000. I was wrong. Got 438,000. The point is, people are watching, and this is a quote from Shannon the Sharp, who my hope and prayer for Shannon is that I think he has a white woman. I think he needs to number one, this would be my hope for this individual. Great athlete, super athletic guy. I want you to grow your beard, get rid of the white woman, marry a sister that the same, your mother who raised you, and grow a set, and then put this guy in your place, even that means losing your job. Okay, but Shannon is very much he's Uncle Tom's cousin. I can't even put him with Uncle Tom. He's worse than Uncle Tom. This guy is a damn super coon. But let's go ahead and play.
You was gonna stand on it.
He said, I stand.
And I'm gonna stand fast on it. You was big and bad, had your chest all out.
Because he said, I have an army behind me.
Yes, what happened to you? Where'd it go?
Now, the Black Professor Truth is basically and by the way, he's not even describing to say he believes everything that the Bible says. That's what we teach. But he's given a non-mainstream media, unbiased report. So he's saying a few days later, and I want to go with just the things I see wrong, because I'm going to tell you something. If you think this is nothing, that people are impressed, I ain't impressed, not even a shred. Play on. Okay, pause it real quick. Number one, okay, this is just the beginning. The marching is going to be 1,000,000 times better. The sound is going to be 1,000,000 times better. These small little, whatever, how many hundreds and hundreds, whatever, I don't know what the number is. There is going to be one day when we come stepping through with thousands upon thousands of men. So this right here is just a little face booster. This is nothing compared to what God has in store. Okay, if you think this is something, that's why they're shook. Because nobody was out of order here, okay? And this is not, all I see is mistakes. I'm someone who sees mistakes only, like people not in perfect order in line, but it's only going to get better and better. And we don't have a lot of time. We have very little time, and we still are able to come together in some sort of unity. And all praise to the Most High. We're going to get better. Now, play on.
Now
pause real quick. So the words of this chant here are, it's, hey, Jacob, it's time to wake up. We have good news for you. You are the real Jews. So what the man that calls himself, he's an Israeli citizen who was gathered before 1948 from different parts of Northern Europe and put in that land and called the Jewish man, speaking a language which is Yiddish, which is parts of different languages. He's saying that that is anti-Semitic. I heard a sister say this. I forget which. I was watching a bunch of content. And how, and she's right. So how is it that the whole world accepts the man that calls himself an Israeli as Jewish? How is he now accepted with no proof that he's in office? He's in that land. He claims he's the real children of God. According to his Talmud, according to the Torah, he's going to have slaves in the future. So if that's the case, why isn't everyone up in arms about them claiming that? And the reason why, anything that black people do when we come together is a problem. And so what this guy's like, look, hold up. These guys are singing about in peace, and they're being labeled, and people are starting to make the connection, is the point. We're not saying anything anti-Semitic because, again, like Bishop went over, we are from the seed of Shem. Sem or Shem is from the son of Shem. There are many sons of Shem. Jewish people who are Amalekites, who are Caucasians or so-called white people, they are from the sons of Shem, just like Ishmaelites from Yemen, Saudi Arabia, and other places. Also, just like people, the East Indians from Sri Lanka, those are Shemitic or Semites. So again, you got to look past all of the smoke screen. What are we talking about? That we are the real Jews, and it's good news. That's all. We didn't say no swears. We didn't say anything about the Holocaust. We didn't say anything about Hitler, none of that. We think that Hitler's the damn devil the Bible speaks of. What happened to those 4.5 or 6 million Jewish people was a tough time in history for them. In comparison to the hundreds of millions of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, it pales ridiculously in comparison. So we'll give you that. We feel bad for you. Hitler was a devil. Trump's the devil. Bush is the devil, right? But guess what? Just put that out there. Put that out there. Now, play on. Okay, now get me Ezekiel chapter 37, and then get me Revelation chapter 7, because again, it's amazing that a lot of our people are shocked because they're not used to seeing this many black and Hispanic men together without a Greek step show, without a stupid sports game, without a fight, without some sort of sporting event. And we're not a physical military with guns and bayonets. We're a spiritual army who protest and march in peace, singing a song. And that's shaking up America? Well, we're going to show you something. Read.
Ezekiel chapter 37 and verse 10.
We got a whole show ahead. I just had to touch on this.
So I prophesied as he commanded me.
Yes, sir.
And the breath came into them. And they lived and stood upon their feet, an exceeding great army.
And so this is the beginning of the exceeding great army. But the exceeding great army is going to be so much more than that small number of repenting Israelites right there. Read on.
Verse 11. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel.
Right.
Behold, they say, our bones are dried, and our hope is lost.
Right, and that's what they say about the black man in America. He's in a dead state. There's no hope for this guy. The Jewish man that calls himself a Jew, the Israeli, they got a lot of hope. They own the Diamond District. They own a whole lot of economic situation. They own parts of cities. They're not lost. They got a lot of hope. They got a lot of economic means. They got a lot of power. They got the media. So this is talking about these men that you see that they used to call niggers and spics and coons and wetbacks. We're those men. We're the men that are rising up. We were in a dead estate. Read on. I'm getting somewhere.
We are cut off from our parts.
Right.
Verse 12. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold.
And what you're going to find when you see us marching through these cities is that a lot of us used to do things. Some of us used to sell drugs. Some of us used to hate the way we look. Some of us used to be in clubs partying, used to eat all type of unclean foods. Some of us were not faithful to the women that we were with. We did all those things. We were that valley of dead spirits. And when we learned the laws of God, this is what you're getting. Men who are in order, standing for righteousness in peace. Not with bayonets and rocket launchers and Uzis and submachine guns, but with a Bible, with unity, structure, coming together in peace. That's the army. We don't got no power in this kingdom. The Jewish man who is in Israel, he got power. He has power. We don't have any power. We're the real Jews. And there's nothing wrong with what I just said. Now give me Revelation 7. Because what's going to happen now, these little couple of thousand, I don't know how many, I don't even care how many it is. This is nothing. And I remember Bishop, we first started out Eastern Parkway, I think it was like 20 of us, and we were all pumped up and excited. We was like, man, this is incredible. And now as a faith boost, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a little something, but this is nothing. This is nothing. You brothers got to understand that the Lord is calling 1/3 of his people, and there's going to be a governing body of 12,000 from each tribe. So my mind is on other things. My mind is how we going to make this better, how we got to do what we got to do to change and continue to shake this kingdom. This is nothing, all right? This is nothing. Read on.
Revelation chapter 7, you want verse 4, Cap?
Yes.
Verse 4, and I heard the number of them which were sealed.
So if you want a number, just go to the Bible. Well, that's what we're trying to do. Get me Ezekiel chapter, those that sigh and cry for the abominations. I think it's 35 and 4, if I'm not mistaken. What is that talking about? What is that talking about when it says that are sealed? They're sealed with the law and the testament, but this is the reason why. This is what they're doing. Read.
Ezekiel chapter 9, verse 4.
Is it? Yeah, 9 and 4, yes.
And the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city.
Go through the midst of the city.
Through the midst of Jerusalem. And set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations.
So it's showing you the ones that are going to be marked and sealed. We're the ones out there saying, listen, we're tired of this. We're tired of the drugs. We're tired of the abortion. We're tired of brothers who are leaving their wives and women that are cheating on their husbands. We're tired of all the unclean foods. We're tired of the sexual sins in our community. We're the ones out there, and that means we're teaching. If we're sighing and crying for the abominations, that means we're teaching the laws. That's how you know what this army's about. Read on.
That be done in the midst thereof.
In Jerusalem is talking about a place indeed, but it's also speaking about a people. Okay? You want to say something, Kel? You about to say something?
No, I was just going to get another scripture to back you up once you were finished with that. I was going to go to Revelation 11:11.
Yes, get that. Beautiful. Get that. And we're gonna go over tonight. We got some good stuff. But I felt the need to say this. For all you haters out there, we're not even close to being the level of discipline that this army is going to be. This is nothing. Our marching is going to be more superb and crisp. Our flank and our doggone column and file is going to become even better. No man's going to break the rank when you read in Joel 2. This army will be an army with no weapons. And when that day comes, we get our powers, y'all going to know then. Right now, we are a very peaceful army. We're never going to do things that's going to break the laws of this land until our king returns. Read.
Revelation chapter 11, verse 11.
Watch this.
And after 3 days and a half,
come on,
the spirit of life from God entered into them.
It's talking about 350 years. And when you look historically, this started to really happen in the 60s. When you started to see, Bishop went in that whole class. It started the commandment keepers, and then they evolved and evolved. But really, the mid to late 60s is when this truth really started to pick up. About 350 years. Read on.
And they stood upon their feet.
And we're standing upon our feet. How? Because we're keeping the commandments. The breath is coming into us. And we're now teaching other brothers in the hoods, in the ghettos, in the barrios, look, man, this is wrong. These abominations, you see if things going on, we got to come out of here. We're sighing and crying for the abominations, and that's those 12,000 from each tribe that's raising up. the leaders of the nation of Israel. And we are the valley of dry bones who had no hope. Read.
And great fear fell upon them.
And why? And my question is this. Let's think about it. Let's really analyze this. If there were 800, let me take a step back. If there were 100 black men with pink sweaters that said Happy Valentine's Day, that marched through New York singing a song of Valentine's, I'm being stupid for a second, it would make front page news. 100 black men coming, and you would hear all about USA Today and everything. How is it that whatever couple thousand, I don't know how many men, a lot of men marching, singing a song, just singing a song about we got good news for you, you are the real Jew, and talking about, how is that not get picked up until 4 days later? How does that not? Because they're worried. Read it again. They're scared.
And after
we ain't got no guns, we got nothing. What are you scared of? The truth. The truth. They know their time is running out. Read it again.
And after 3 days and a half,
350 years,
the spirit of life from God entered into them.
Listen, we ain't cheating on our wives. We're staying faithful. When times get tough, we don't go to the strip club like a bunch of you damn wicked ass niggas out there to do that wicked stuff. Okay? We out there, we hang in when it gets tough. Okay? We out there, we put off the unclean foods. We put off the tattoos. We don't get them no more. Okay, we husbands and fathers. Some of us came out of the drug life. Some of us came out of the gang life. Some of us came out of a life where we just had no hope. We hated ourselves. We wanted to end our life. Some of us came through that. That's why we sing songs about how we changed our lives. You big dummies, you stupid, ignorant people. And I'm talking to you that are haters of IUIC. Read on.
And they stood upon their feet.
Come on.
And great fear fell upon them.
Wait a minute. How are these dead people who had no hope, now they're standing on their feet and they have the commandments of God? Why is fear coming on them? Because guess what? More and more are going to wake up and we're going to start keeping the commandments and it's going to affect him. It's starting now. It's starting now. This truth is spreading to the point we're on platforms now where we would have never got play. And the Lord put it in their spirit to keep pressing this brother Kyrie. And now it's the Most High working everything. Y'all don't see it? Read on.
And great fear fell upon them, which saw them.
Okay, beautiful. Now, so Revelation 7, I'm not going to go into it. It talks about 12,000 from each tribe. There's going to be many, many tens of thousands more. Now, I want to start the show showing inspirational quotes of black men, to me, who had some sort of backbone, and sisters who have some sort of understanding of black love. Because all this is, they say we're a hate group. We got to read this stupid statement that we are not a hate group. No, we're not a hate group. We're a truth group, and we apply love, and we about to show you some love today, all right? We'll start with, we'll just go right down the list and make it easy, all right? I think the first one is Muhammad. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Bishop Yawasab oftentimes has these sayings and this wisdom, and I've been hearing them for 16 years. In 2007, 2008, I've been remember sitting at the feet of my elders, right? And he would often quote some of the old brothers from the 50s and 60s who had understanding of what it means to be for your people. Now, you know, the full understanding, right? Play that.
I've heard Elijah Muhammad say this: there are many white people who mean right and in heart want to do right, but there are so few. If 10,000 rattlesnakes was coming down that aisle now, and I had a door here I could shut, and in that 10,000, 1,000 meant right. 1,000 rattlesnakes didn't want to bite me. I knew they were good. Should I let all these rattlesnakes come down, hoping that 1,000 get together and form a Sheol? Or should I just close the door and stay safe?
I think that
you understand? The Viet Cong are not all bad, but America's still dropping bombs. In Hiroshima, the Japan wasn't bad, but she still dropped the bomb.
So Muhammad Ali just dropped some wisdom real quick. But my brother Muhammad Ali is mistaken at one thing. Out of those rattlesnakes, you know, the ones that if they took their fangs out, they couldn't bite you, but they all not right. Every single one of them. I don't care if the rattlesnake passes you by and doesn't bite you. It's still a rattlesnake, and it's in his spirit to do that. Get me, as it Micah just came to me. His spirit, his soul that is within him is not right. So I want to analyze what Muhammad said, and the analogy is great. Look, man, you can't trust the people that put you in slavery, that gave you the image of white Jesus, that took your nationality and now is offended at you because you are remembering who you are and trying to smear you in the public, saying that they are anti-Semitic. You're making anti-Semitic statements because you're saying you're the real Jews. Well, you've never proved you were the real Jew. People just accepted that. People of the countries around you, when you came in, and that they know you're not the real Jews. Now, you are Jewish and you are Israelis. You are citizens of that land. We can't take that away from you. You did go through the Holocaust. We can't take that away from you. Let's say you had 6 million. Concentration camps, Hitler, he's a demon. All that's true. But you're not the real Jew. The real Jews are the 12 tribes that were scattered in slavery. We can prove it. And you can't. And that's unemotional. That's not any type of word you're trying to sign it. It's just the truth. And the truth hurts, especially if you're not the real Jew. Read.
Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 4.
Watch this.
Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him.
So Muhammad Ali made the analogy about if I got 8,000 rattlesnakes, and let's just say 1,000 of them are, I know they're not going to bite me. Do I wait for them to make 1,000 of them to form a line to protect me from the other 8,000? No. Never trust your enemy. Read it again, please.
Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him.
I don't care. Listen, you black men that trust in America, you have another thing coming. I do not care if some of them marched in with Dr. King. I don't give a doggone if they was in the Freedom Riders, because when they got done riding for freedom, they could go back to their house and not go through none of the things that Muhammad Ali was going through, none of the things that you was going through. Okay? So all of them. Play the clip again. Or just keep playing it.
The door and stay safe.
I think that...
You understand? The Viet Cong are not all bad, but America's still dropping bombs. In Hiroshima, the Japan wasn't bad, but she still dropped the bomb. In Korea, they weren't bad, but they still dropped the bomb. So now I'm going to forget the 400 years of lynching and killing and raping and depriving my people of freedom, justice, and equality, the first fired, last hired, the lowest of low, last respected, and I'm going to look at 2 or 3 white people who are trying to do right and don't see the other million trying to kill me? I'm not that big of a fool.
Right. So
I've heard
that's some truth bomb right there. And here's the thing. We think that was that far back in time. Muhammad Ali just passed away recently. People from Muhammad Ali's generation are still alive today. Brothers have lived through that. Okay, today we're going to get to one of the founders of SPLC is an embarrassment. God, have mercy on him, please, Father. I don't know if it's possible, but you're going to find out today. One of the founders of the SPLC was a black man. And I'm going to have to dig some stuff up today. Now, next Instagram reel. These are short ones. So what Muhammad said. He said, I'm supposed to open the door and allow all of them to come through. The couple of them that supposedly might do good to me. And then the other million that's going to come for me and take me out. That's the problem. A lot of you black brothers, you marry the enemy. You're sleeping with the enemy. And you take on the enemy's ideology. Read.
That America freed the slaves in 1863 through the Emancipation.
This is America's Negro. Everybody loved Martin Luther King. He's the Reverend Doctor. Very mild-mannered, very soft-spoken for the most part, peaceful, followed the example philosophies of Mahatma Gandhi from India, an East Indian, right? Who, by the way, couldn't stand black people, by the way. Like the East Indians love you, okay? Now, and it might sound like I'm being so harsh. Everything I'm saying is true, okay? Just like Abraham Lincoln was affiliated with slavery, and it was beneficial to free the slaves. It wasn't that he loved black people. Okay, play on.
Abraham Lincoln, but gave the slaves no land, or nothing in reality, and as a matter of fact, to get started on. At the same time, America was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that there was a willingness to give the white peasants from Europe an economic base. and yet it refused to give its black peasants from Africa who came here involuntarily in chains and had worked free for 244 years any kind of economic base. And so emancipation for the Negro was really freedom to...
See, this right here is a different Martin. He don't sound like all little white boys and girls come together, Jews and Gentiles. He don't sound like that one, because this is after the march. This is after the march, after he realized that these devils don't give a F about my people. He about to say it. And I like this analogy because him and towards the end, they had to kill him because their fear was Martin and Malcolm and all the brothers coming together and finding out that we're Israel and raising up all black people. Because at that point, before the drugs, before the crack came in, before the white woman and before the jobs came, there was oppression. And they had to soften that blow. And that's why they take the key figures out and they had to do what they had to do with the rest I just mentioned. Play on.
For the Negro was really freedom to hunger. It was freedom to the winds and rains of heaven. It was freedom without food to eat or land to cultivate, and therefore it was freedom and famine at the same time. And when white Americans tell the Negro to lift himself by his own bootstraps, they don't look over the legacy of slavery and segregation. I believe we ought to do all we can and seek to lift ourselves by our own bootstraps. But it's a cruel jest to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And many Negroes, by the thousands and millions, have been left bootless as a result of all.
So what they did is, in this country, and this is why Muhammad Ali said, I'm going to forget about 450 years of slavery, lynching, Jim Crow, and all that. Martin's now saying, look, here it is, when you freed the slaves in the Emancipation Proclamation, you gave incentives for white peasants to come to this country in the Midwest and the West and gave them land and gave them stipends or money. When we were free, you turned us loose on just like wild animals, just nothing, nothing at all, okay? And most of us, a vast majority of us. So now he says that it's a cruel jest to say to a man who doesn't have a boot to pull himself up by the bootstrap. So this is a different type of Martin. This Martin's different. Watch what he says next.
Thousands and millions have been left bootless as a result of all of these years of oppression and as a result of a society that deliberately made his color a stigma and something worthless and degrading.
When you stood on the Lincoln Memorial that day in August '63.
I have to say this because one thing I can't stand is dumb niggas. I'm going to tell you right now. You dumb, stupid black people out there who really try to divide people by skin color. I'm about to show you, brother, a little later on. Listen, I'm bright boy. They would have strung me up right next to you dark-skinned, friggin' ignorant ass ones. We are all one people. You understand that? And when you try to divide, I'm going to show you brothers, man. Brothers that was freckled faces with yellow tight, friggin' red tight curl, friggin' was strung up and head chopped off and hung from trees. Don't let them divide. I'm telling you, don't let them divide us. Now, Martin is now about to say he's about to drop the bomb. Did he drop the bomb yet? No. He about to say something in a minute. Watch this. Play on.
That day in August '63, and you said I had a dream.
But I must confess that...
So this is years later. So this day in August in '63, because Martin, his ideologies was, we'll go to the White House. White people will really understand the Negro's plight. The laws will get changed, and we'll work on the minds of their conscience, and things will get better. That's what his ideology was. Toward the most I showed him, for that time, understanding, you're wrong, brother. And this is why he says, well, at that he says, I must confess. He's still being politically correct now for the camera, right? He wasn't as bold as Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X, but watch what he says, and this is why he had to die. Rewind. Can you rewind it just a little bit? If not, then we just roll with it. Okay, watch this.
I had a dream.
But I must confess that that dream that I had that day has at many points turned into a nightmare.
No boots.
Now, you hear that? So he said, and he still was politically correct. He said, although I have to confess, and he changed his whole energy up. He said, at many points, he said that dream has turned into a nightmare. Because he realized towards the end of his life that you can't change a rattlesnake. Martin, Malcolm and them understood that. And that's why they killed Malcolm, because Malcolm knew he was an Israelite. He knew he was an Israelite towards the end of his life. So now, next reel, please. Why am I showing you this? You might say, well, the title of the show is about the Caucasian and then the root of the SPLC. I said, well, I'm showing you things, and then I'm going to get into that. Lord's will.
And used as the measure. Many times, if a black man does not have money to give us, we won't even let him see his children. We won't let him spend any time with it because he does not give us whatever the child support is. And I'm not saying that we don't need money to raise a child, but I try to explain to black women that raising a child.
This sister is a little older. She's a beautiful sister on the left. She is making a correlation to black women who have been given a false sense of security through welfare, Section 8, and other government-issued funding if you don't have your man in the house. She's saying that it takes more than money. The reason why I'm playing this video is because Martin said it best. How you go? It's a cruel jest to tell a man to pull his boots up by his bootstraps and he ain't got no boots, okay? So now this goes directly to, now we're in the 80s now, and you start to find when drugs come in, and then you start to see a big spike in single-parent households rose after the 70s. And it's all by design. All this Caucasian white supremacy is all by design, and it's working on the minds of the black man to do what? To go away from the black woman, and the black woman to go to her savior, white America, through the economic empowerment known as Section 8, known as WIC, known as public assistance. Now you can actually survive without a man. It's all designed. Watch what she says.
To explain to black women that raising a child consists of much more than feeding, clothing, and sheltering it. That's maintaining one. To raise one, you need a return of the parental coalition of the father and the mother to put the proper values into the child. Many of our boys.
I want you to remember this later. And later in the show, I'm going to revisit this. She said it's the proper parental code, I believe, of the mother and the father in the house. That's what she said, right? Okay, I want all of us to remember that. Because what she said, I'm going to show you that they used the black man to start to destroy that. And he was one of the ones that found the SPLC, and he was a black man. I'm going to show you this place, man. Their reach goes deep. Esau's clever, super smart. Play on.
Mother to put the proper values into the child. Many of our boys, when we raise them alone, they grow up with the female emotional mechanism. They are suspicious, they are doubtful, they're disrespectful of womanhood, they're bitchy, they can't make a decision. And many of our girls who grow up in a home where there's no man present, they go out into the world and try to mate. They don't have any idea how to live with a man day to day, how to prepare a proper meal, how to be a mother, how to just be in love in the home. Most of what our people and our children especially have learned about how you have a relationship, they learned off of television.
Now, that's sister, I'm going to tell you something. She dropped some bombs. I want to use that for later. Next reel. We're going to couple more, and then we're going to jump into a couple of history about the SPLC.
She preaching hate when he says, I'm not going to let the...
I gotta preface this. This is Denzel before he was super Denzel, before he was super famous. He's speaking... And I want you to imagine this was, he lived today, right, at this age, because what he's saying is right on point. It's so far. I just was very inspired by this. And actually, Denzel has a black wife, and I think he's still with, I hope he's still with his black wife. And Denzel don't play games. Listen to this.
The sheep preaching hate when he says, I'm not going to let the wolf eat me anymore. If the wolf comes in here, next time he comes in here, I'll do whatever I have to do to keep him off my back. Is the sheep violent or is the wolf the violent one? He wasn't teaching hate. He was teaching common sense. You know, somebody's knocking you over the head, stop them. Do whatever you have to do to stop them. You know, the ones that were knocking him over the head were afraid of the fact that he might swing back. So they said, no, he's teaching hate. He's violent.
So you see that? And that right there, those of you who received it, you received that. That's some powerful stuff that Denzel talking about. Because Denzel was a black man in Hollywood. And Denzel, Lord will he repent. who has stayed with a black woman and for the most part is a masculine individual. Now, and it was just profound. Next one is war in marriage, and then we got one more.
Two things I prep myself with before I have any type of difficult conversation with my husband: empathy and principality. Empathy, because as a woman, I would throw this pity party for myself. He knows exactly how I'm feeling, and he's intentionally not doing anything about it, when that is not true. He's not a mind reader. He has no idea what's going on in my head. And most of the time, some men don't even notice. And then principality. The enemy is prowling like a lion, looking to kill, steal, and destroy the strongest declarations on this earth. Our marriages, my marriage.
You see that? This is what they're trying to destroy. When you have a black man and a black woman, Israelite man, whether they be Dominican, Puerto Rican, El Salvadorian, Nigerian, who are the Israelites over there, Haitian, Jamaican, when you have two Israelites that are together, she's bringing up the point, like the other sister, look, she's like, I have to do everything I can to keep the sanctity of my marriage, because this, she says that her marriage is basically the most important thing, and she has to do everything to protect that. If we take that position with God's laws, that's what we need to do as a nation. And that's why when you see the media, that they allow black men to rap about killing each other, right, which is destroys the family. But yet when we come together and we're talking about songs like some of us used to sell drugs, not no more, okay, brothers, marry your women. Sisters, put on a dress and stop doing that. When we talk about that, we are the threat. You got to see what's really going on. This is why the laws of God. That's why she was very inspirational what that sister said. Is there more now? Is that it? Play it a little bit more.
On this earth, our marriages, my marriage, and I'm not going to help him do that. So I had to learn how to communicate and bring forth a difficult conversation that didn't warrant my husband feeling belittled or attacked. Yeah, we are definitely at war, but we should not.
So the war is, in that context, she might not understand she's an Israelite, but she understands that her marriage, she has to fight to protect that, because everything outside that is trying to break that apart. Get me, I think there's one more. It's number, selling to the Negro. This is something I saw on TikTok that, Instagram, that I thought was pretty powerful, because if they figured out your psyche and how to sell to you, you don't think they figured out what you like and how to exploit your sins? Oh, they have. And that's why they got us with their media and their music in their stupid SPLC. Play.
What sales psychologists have to say about selling to the Negro.
The secret of selling to the Negro is expressed in one word. That word is recognition. Now, there's nothing unusual about that. People want to be recognized. They need recognition. That's basic in all of us. But perhaps because he's had so little of it, the Negro needs even more.
Pause,
he needs to feel.
So the white man knows that how psychologically that we don't get recognition. Why? Because of overt and covert racism, institutional racism, and discrimination. He knows we don't get recognition. He knows we're not seen as the value that our name should bring when we walk into a store. So when he can capitalize on that, he gives you extra attention, because we usually don't get that. If they figured that out about how to sell to us, don't you think they figured out how they can get us to kill each other? They know all of that. And that's what they're doing. They're trying to divide the black family. And that's why when Denzel said that, that's when Malcolm said that, it's when Martin said that, it's all showing you that it's a system designed to destroy the black man in America, okay, the Israelites. Now, I just wanted to show you those couple inspirations. Now we're going to get to the SPLA part. SPLC. I don't even care if I mispronounce the acronym or say it. Get me the first one. I'm just going to go right in order. So this is, as of late, actually, you know what? Save 7. Save 7. If your brothers have something to say, please say it. Save 7. I want you to get me Wikipedia and pull up the Southern Poverty Law Center. And I want to go there I'm not going to pull the whole thing from it. I just want to show you a point. There were 3 founders of the Southern Poverty Law Center. 2 of them were Caucasian. 1 of them was a black man. And initially, it was designed to protect black people, minorities, from hate groups that did violent acts like the KKK. And they did things initially that were good for our people. Something happened, though. And I'm going to show you in the spirit what one of the things is. So let's get Wikipedia SPLC, Southern Poverty Law Center. It was started in 1971 by 2 white attorneys and later on a co-founder by the name of a black man named Mr. Julian Bond. We're going to get into a little bit about his history tonight. And no disrespect to the brother's family, Julian Bond. I believe that he meant well, and he tried to do a lot for our people. He sat in on lunch, the Woolworths and different stores, and he was the victim of oppression. And we're not disrespecting him, but we're just going to tell the truth. All right? So go ahead and pull that up. Okay, so let's start reading Southern Poverty Law Center, please.
Yes, sir. Southern Poverty Law Center is an American 501c3 nonprofit legal advocacy organization specializing in civil rights and public interest litigation.
So civil rights, remember, it was started in 1971. Civil rights, white people were not fighting for civil rights. Neither were Chinese people. It was black people, black Americans and Hispanics were fighting for, and Native Americans didn't have no rights, okay? It was mainly black Americans. Now, scroll down a little bit, and later on they changed this, but I want to just, scroll up real quick. Right where it says the SPL was founded by.
SPLC was founded by Morris Dees, Joseph J. Levine Jr., and Julian Bond.
Now, in order, Morris Dees and Joseph J. Levine Jr. are Caucasians, and I'm glad you clicked on him. That man is clearly a Caucasian, okay, who had a family background. Now, just leave it there real quick. I want you to see this is one of the attorneys that, and later on in 2019, was fired. And I'm going to show you a little bit about why he was fired for misconduct, allegedly mistreating black people starting as early as 1994. Now, get off this picture real quick. I wonder why they didn't show Joseph J. Levine Jr. So now, go to, I had to research this. I sent you something on Joseph Levine Jr. It is, bear with me. I hope I can find it. Don't tell me I didn't put it there. Maybe I didn't send it. Okay, hang on a sec. I'm going to skip him and come back to him. I know I had him. Yeah, but in the meantime, go to the next one. The next one is Mr. Julian Bonds. I might have not sent it. I'm not going to blame you. I might have not sent it. Let me see something. Save messages. Oh, this is important. Okay. Joseph, I'm going to forward it now to, wait a minute. Forward. Okay, I'm forwarding Joseph Levine Jr. to Precept Upon Precept. It's just a link. It's a link to SourceWatch. But now, this is a black man named Mr. Horace Julian Bond. He was a co-founder of SPLC. The other 2 gentlemen are Caucasian. So the experience that Mr. Bond had is that his civil rights he had to fight for. They didn't have to fight for theirs. They were just a part of something, and they saw an opportunity to, those rattlesnakes, the ones with no teeth, right? But this is about Mr. Bond. I'm going to come back to Mr. Bond later. Can we pull up the article about Joseph J. Levine Jr.? SourceWatch.com. I don't need a picture. He's a Caucasian, and you can look it up. You can look it up yourself. I want the article. That's it. I don't need a picture. It should say https:// www.sourcewatch.org index. It should be. If you can't get it, you can't get it. Hold up. I don't know why. Okay, they took it down. Something happened. Hang on a minute. I don't know why they did that. See if you can find something on that name. I'm going to come back. So pull up. I'm going to jump right down to something happened with Julian Bond in 1989. I want to see if we can get this. Go to Wikipedia for Julian Bond. So Julian Bond, if anybody could understand the struggles of black people, is Julian Bond. He was raised by a black family with black brothers and sisters in a time he was born in, I think, 1940. So he lived as a child in Jim Crow, pre-civil rights. He was a young man during the mid-'60s, and so he saw all that. He sat in on lunch counter sit-ins. He was a part. He saw the dogs. He marched. He was a student of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, one of his 8 students. He was there. So if anybody knows the struggle, he does. The other 2 lawyers that founded it, they don't know anything about any struggle. They might have represented certain things, but at the end of the day, they didn't have the struggles that Julian had. Something happened to this guy, Julian Bond. Something happened to him. We're going to show you in the spirit. Wikipedia. Just pull up Wikipedia on Julian Bond. I'll show you where to go. All right. Let's read this. We're going to do a little bit of reading.
Julian Bond, Horace Julian Bond, January 14, 1940, August 15, 2015, was an American social activist, leader of the civil rights movement, politician, professor, and writer. While he was a student at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia.
Stop. So he went to Morehouse. What is Morehouse? HBCU. Exactly, HBCU. And now I'm going to show you that Esau is the damn devil, man. Watch this. Read on.
During the early 1960s, he helped establish the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC. In 1971, he co-founded the Southern Poverty Law Center in Montgomery, Alabama.
So he co-founded, but the 2 people that founded it were Joseph J. Levine and the other guy. Forget his name. Those 2 guys, and he came and helped to co-found it. Now, read on.
And served as its first president of nearly a decade.
What I'm showing you in the beginning, they had a black man that understood struggle on here. And it's turned into now where they smear campaign abortions, people that advocate the killing or aborting of babies, their hate group. I'm showing you they weren't always like this, okay? I'm going to show you what happened. Now scroll down a little bit. Let me see something. Go down to early life. Okay, let's read early life and education.
Bond was born in 1940 at Hubbard Hospital in Nashville, Tennessee, to parents Julia Agnes Washington and Horace Mann Bond. His father was an educator, then president of Fort Valley Student College. His mother, Julia, was a former librarian at Clark Atlanta University, also a historically black college.
I don't care how bright he is. He comes from a background of black people who have pride in being black. That's why they went to HB, and some of them didn't have a choice. That was the safe place to go. Well, read on.
The family resided on campus at Fort Valley State College.
Mm-hmm.
The house of the Bonds was a frequent stop for scholars, activists, and celebrities passing through, such as W.E. Du Bois and Paul Robertson.
So his family was seen as a place to be around, and he had a lot of activists and people around him that were black folks, that were strong people, W.E. Du Bois, Paul Robeson, and others, okay? Read on.
In 1945, Bond's father accepted the position of president of Lincoln University, where he was its first African-American president, and the family moved north.
So he came from the deep South. He moved up north, and he had a strong, I'm going to use the word black loosely, because he had pride in who he was. I'm going to show you how this man is destroyed. Read on.
In 1957, Bond graduated from George School a private Quaker preparatory boarding school near Newtown in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. He started attending Morehouse College, a historically black college in Atlanta, Georgia.
All right, so now he's historically black. Now, so let's go past political organizing because I'm going to go some of you might not think. Get me personal life. Check this out. Now, I had to search and search and search and search for what I'm about to show you next. Read.
On July 28th, 1961, Bond married Alice Clopton.
Stop. It said in 1961, July 28th, Bond married Alice Clopton. Read on.
A student at Spelman College.
Spelman College is another historically black college university. Spelman, you want to know how we know? All of us used to watch what? Different World than Cosby, right? They used to talk about Spelman all the time, right? I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you how this, I'm telling you, this brother got overrun in his mind. Something happened to this dude, man. Read on.
They had 5 children.
Wait, how many he had?
5 children.
So hold up. So this woman he was married to from 1961, and later you're going to find out he was married to her until 1989. He had 5 black children with this black woman. Read on.
Phyllis Jane Bond McMillan. Horace Mann Bond II. Michael Julian Bond, an Atlanta city councilman.
That's right.
Jeffrey Alvin Bond and Julia Lewis Bond. They divorced on November 10th, 1989.
I want you to remember that. And before I mentioned about the sister, the Islam sister who had some salient points, and she was talking about how that you need a parental house with the husband and wife to raise proper children, right? I'm going to show you that even the strongest who went through civil rights and was raised with black parents, right? I looked and looked and looked and looked and looked for Alice Clopton. There's nothing about her. But these devils, give me the newspaper image. Because Alice Clopton is a lovely black woman, right? Beautiful. And then I'm telling you, man, Esau got our people, man. And this is why only thing is the Israelites teaching this truth is going to wake our people up. Because the thought to want to go home to your enemy is sickening. And this brother, you lose all understanding of the struggle as soon as you do this. Show me, we're going to blow this up if we can. Now, so what I had to do is search for images. And this came up small. Alice Bond has focused life on husband and family. So this sister, look at her nose. Look at her lips. That's a black sister right there. Beautiful, right? She was focused on her husband and the family. She stayed behind the scenes. Check this out. We're gonna read this, and this is how I'm gonna show you that this media is a bunch of damn devils, because the next devil this brother married is a white woman. You click on her, there's a million pictures of her. He didn't have no children with her. I'm showing you this. There is a black. I'm telling you, they do not want you to make a connection. There's no pictures of him and this black woman at all. I looked and I looked and I looked. I had to find this because it was they slipped and they put it as Alice Clopton Bond. So then the title was actually Bond. So now we're gonna read on.
Those who love or dislike Alice Clopton Bond agree on one thing: the wife of former state Senate Julian Bond has focused her life on him. Her college passion having turned into an obsession as her husband made a career of traveling. Her energies and her beginning were consumed with detective work. Scroll up a little
on
bit.
Julian.
On Julian.
I'm gonna tell you something. They've been trying to divide this family, and I'm telling you, there was a lot of crafty stuff that was done. So why would she have detective work if her husband's always traveling? Well, this is how are they going to say this about? She's got 5 children with the man, right? And this is a sister right here, right? Play on, read on.
Says an old friend, from my observation, all of her dispensable time went into monitoring Julian.
I don't believe that. Read on.
From interviews with friends, family members, and childhood acquaintances, Mrs. Bond emerges as a bright and attractive woman who rarely stepped into her husband's limelight, but who wrapped her world around his almost from the day they met in 1960. Her 26-year marriage is where much of her pleasure has come from over the years, as Bond burst forth in the 1970s to become a dashing and intellectual hero of the civil rights movement. But the union, with its long separation from Bonds, also has left her frustrated, according to friends, relatives, and her own statements in past interviews. Friends say she always has been outspoken about her marital frustrations. On March 19th, she took those frustrations to the police after a a confrontation with a woman reputed to be the former senator's girlfriend, according to a confidential police memorandum. She filed a simple battery charge against the woman, Carmen Lopez Butler, and then told Atlanta narcotics detectives that Miss Butler had been supplying Bond with cocaine and that other prominent Atlanteans were abusers of the drug, according to the police memo.
I find it hard to believe that the one article that I could find, if she was that crazy a woman, why would you have 5 children with a nigga? 5 children with her? The brother's dead, forgive me. And now the one article I find about this lovely sister is painting her as she's crazy. Interesting. Now, I want you to see that's who he married. He understood the struggle. Up until 89, she was in the background. Now, get me back to Wikipedia. I'm just showing you there were 2 white men that formed, and he was the co-founder, a brother in the struggle with a black wife. Understand? You watch some tapes of this guy. We about in a minute. SPLC again. Now, go back to, I'm sorry, not SPLC. Julian Bond, and I want Wikipedia, and I want his second wife. I'm telling you, man, this dude is weak. He was weak, and they set his ass up.
In 1990, Bond married Pamela Sue Horwitz.
Stop. Interesting. In 1990, Bond, look at that. Less than a year later, he married Sue Horowitz, a former SPLC staff attorney. Interesting. Pull up the picture of that. It's a deplorable looking woman. I'm being serious. Pull up the image of Pam Horowitz of the Southern. So you're gonna leave, and this is why I don't think he's that stupid. I think I got caught out there. I think he did some dumb stuff, and they had something on him because his whole spirit changed.
That name just sounds like she smelled like boiled bologna.
Horowitz. So you could pull the image up. Here's the point. You have a black man who was the co-founder of SPLC. In the beginning times, it did things like lawsuits on the KKK, who are known hate crimes, who have burned crosses and killed many hundreds of people over the 1900s and before that. So, of course, they did things in the beginning of the to help our people, just like the civil rights movement. As you went on, you start to see how the SPLC started to change. And this is in the spirit. I'm telling you, this guy, if he was in the right spirit, this shouldn't have happened on his watch. So this is Pam Horowitz. Read that.
Pam Horowitz was one of the first lawyers hired by SPLC co-founder Morris Dees and Joe Levine.
Those are the 2 guys that co-founded, and then the brother's name, I already forgot it. The brother's name, he came a little bit later. Yes, he came a little bit later. She was one of the first staff attorneys. Read on.
Joining the organization in 1974.
I stand correct. She came 3 years after they formed the organization. Read on.
During her time at the Southern Poverty Law Center, she successfully argued a historic sex discrimination case before the U.S. Supreme Court. Horowitz practiced law for 30 years with a Washington, D.C. firm. She also worked in a partnership with her late husband, Julian Bond, who served as the SPLC's first president on multiple public, private, and academic projects, including an annual civil rights tour on the South and projects involving the SPLC.
So I just wanted to show you that he divorced his wife, who had 5 children, who was a black woman, lovely black woman who I couldn't find anything on, any pictures on. And then this is his second wife, who was a staff attorney that came 3 years later, who is a Caucasian woman. And show another picture. I want you to show one more picture. It's important. Y'all got to see this. Show the picture. It says, Alamy, New York, April 22nd, Julian Bond. I want you to look to see how they look together. How unnatural this looks. I'm sorry. You get mad if you want to get mad. I don't give a damn how light he is. He don't look right at all with her. It's no, it's on. I posted it. It is. Maybe I didn't. Hang on a sec. I'll send it to you right now. Maybe I didn't. Hold up. Sorry. Forward, precept upon precept. I did not send that to you. My apologies. Yeah, I did send it to you. Yes, I did. It's just you should be able to click right on it. If you click on that, it says Alamy. I want you to see them together. All right, so watch this. This is Mr. Julian Bond, married to a black woman with 5 children, who they did things to help black people in coming out of the civil rights movement. Something happened with a lot of these men. Their minds become weak, and they go and sleep and lay with the enemy. That is Susan Horwitz. That's who he married her 1 year after getting divorced to his wife. So I'm not sure if I'm not sure how it happened, but the bottom line is that marriage was broken up. I'm not sure if it was adultery. Some articles say this, it doesn't matter. You don't go and leave your wife for that. That is the enemy. Okay? Give me Deuteronomy chapter 7. You're not supposed to deal with other nations. And that's where if Julian Bond and these brothers had the laws of God, they would fear that. They would fear that. They would observe the time when they were working with that lawyer. At the end of the day, nope, I can't go to that social engagement. Have a great day. Nice working with you. I'm going home to my wife. They don't know to observe the time. He got caught out there, and they probably set his ass up.
Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 3.
Mm-hmm.
Neither shalt thou make marriages with them.
With who? The heathen. This is talking about Idumea. It's talking about all the nations outside of Israel. Read on.
Thy daughters thou shalt not give unto his sons, nor his daughters shalt thou take unto thy sons.
Read on.
For they will turn away thy son from following me.
Yes, sir.
That they may serve other gods.
And that's what he did. He began to serve other gods. He began to serve the white man. And I'm going to prove to you how he serves the white man. He was raised by black parents. He had a black wife who he had 5 black children with. Something happened when he left and married the enemy. His whole mindset began to change. Now pull the video up, and this is the proof. Pull the video up of Julian Bond. I'm going to see if I can find it. It says, I hope I did send it to you. I have to go scroll up. I'm scrolling up, precept on precept. It says, yes, gay rights are civil rights. I believe it's yes. So, and then I'm going to show you a video of him about 30, 40 years previous, and you're going to understand there's something happened. And this a little bit of digging you can see. And they make it hard. I couldn't find any images of his first wife. I had to find a small newspaper article. But he had a second wife. She's all over the place. No children with her. They do not want you to see any type of black unity or solidarity. That's why they did that. And that brother, he got weak and he was set up. He got weak. And I bet you the last thing he thought about before he died is, damn, I messed up. I had a family with a sister, a lovely sister, and he was probably thinking, what the hell did I do? I'm telling you, that's probably what he thought before he passed on.
Well, it's one of the most cynical things I've ever heard of or ever seen spelled out in this way. The idea that these people are just pawns that can be played with. The black people who oppose gay marriage, the black people who support gay marriage just can be moved around like pieces on a chessboard. It's scary.
Scary.
Yeah.
They released a statement that said, quote,
And
gay
by the
marriage
way,
advocates have attempted to...
all of our brothers and sisters who are in that lifestyle and with men and women, they just need to repent. Just like a thief, a murderer, you need to repent. They need to repent. This host is a known man that deals with other men. He obviously is baiting him and setting him up. There's an agenda on the station. The agenda is pro men with men, women with women. And this guy who has a white wife at this point, his whole mindset moved from the civil rights of getting sprayed with a water hose, the things that's happening where he's judged by the color of his skin, going through all that, born in 1940, going through all that until 1965, the Civil Rights Voting Act, 1971 formed SPLC. They did some things that with KKK and help with hate groups. And then 1989, he divorces. So something happened in that time for his spirit changed. Now watch what he's talking at the end of his life.
Statement that said, quote, gay marriage advocates have attempted to portray same-sex marriage as a civil right. Gay marriage is not a civil right. You see the push for equal rights for gay and lesbian Americans as a civil rights movement.
Very much so.
As an extension of the civil.
So now, what he makes the point is that there's no differentiation between black people and their right to vote, to have basic civil rights. That's the same struggle, he says, as a man who is a homosexual trying to get rights of marriage. He says you can't differentiate the two. Well, of course you can. Because according to the laws of God, it is immoral. It is wrong to do that. No hatred here. Give me Leviticus chapter 20:13. And this is where, without the laws of God, this man who stood as a civil rights leader, who left his black family for whatever reason, I don't know the ins and outs of it, okay? And now he's pushing the agenda of his enemy. He wants to do exactly what the enemy has. Not what God says, but what the enemy says. Read.
Leviticus chapter 20, verse 13. If a man also lie with mankind, as he lied with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death.
Now, that is what God says. That's what God says. The sanctity of marriage is based upon the Bible. So what a lot of these leaders do that came out of civil rights, their marriages were destroyed. They set people up. Late night, there's a lawyer there. They do little things. Now they got you. And now they take pictures and they send it to your wife. Look what your husband's doing. And they try to play, they divide, man. That's what they do to our people. They destroy our families. And that's why Muhammad Ali said, look, I see all these rattlesnakes. I'm supposed to think that you good and let you in? No, I'm going to close the door, protect myself. That's what he didn't understand. He should have closed the door.
Hey, Cap.
Yes, sir.
You know what's heavy about that is they say the foundation of a strong nation is a strong marriage. So, yeah, if you want to destroy a nation, you start by destroying the marriages. In fact, that's the first thing that Satan attacked in the garden was the marriage between the black man and black woman.
That's right.
With Adam and Eve, he attacked the marriage. That's what they do. It's the same game plan over and over and over. They don't change from their script, and we shouldn't change from ours either. We got to keep the commandments. That's our script.
Oh, you got a picture. So I wanted to just show clearly that the founders of SPLC, Southern Poverty Law Center, were a group of attorneys. Two of them were Caucasians who had an empathy of the civil rights movement, but their civil rights weren't in question. Julian Bond was a black man born in 1940, went to predominantly historically black college. His parents were educators. They had people, famous black influential people visiting the home. He married a lovely black sister who he met at Spelman College. They went on to have 5 children, and he took that struggle with him from the 60s. Something happened. What Esau realized is what he did with Geraldo Rivera. He realized, whoa, we got to shake them up. So he brought in, that's why the 70s was so crazy. They brought all them drugs in. Disco, get their mind off it. It was thought design. In the 80s, they brought all these drugs in. Then they had all this stuff. They started to single parents and divorce, and they had to destroy us step by step. And I'm telling you, they set a lot of brothers up like this. This brother, man, I'm telling you, bro, that's what happened. The SPLC was founded with the right intent because there was a black man who understood struggle that was in the board meeting, making decisions. The SPLC today, and by the way, Mr. Bond died in 2015. He lost that edge. But now, so just sharing you the background where it comes from. Give me the article. Mr. Bond now believes that gay rights are the same struggle as black people's right to vote and not get lynched in this country, which in his earlier years, getting sprayed and getting smashed in the face with a pie at a Woolworth counter, I don't know if he would have the same philosophy. Get me the, before I forget, get me the video. I want to show him in his younger years. This is just going into the SPLC. Do you see what's going on behind the scenes here? Get me Julian Bond number 11, please. Number 11. Remembering Julian Bond with the NAACP president. Remember, Martin in '63 had a dream, which was a bubble. It got busted, and after he said, I have a confession to make, many parts of that dream have become a nightmare. And he started to talk about how you going to make a jest at a man to pull himself up by the bootstraps when you took his boots. The same thing happened when Julian was younger. He had a better understanding of struggle. Why? Because he was with a black woman raising black children. His life was put on the line. But after, so let's watch him in his early years. This is with him and Martin.
From the March on Washington to Bloody Sunday in Selma, Alabama, Julian Bond was an iconic figure in America's struggle for civil rights. He was a student of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Because I want you to look at the room. This is before SPLC. In the room, in most of the rooms that he was in, until a little bit later on, he was around a lot of influential black people like Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. You see some sisters in the back. He was around the movement because why? The enemy, you couldn't even, what was going on during that time? And this is why sometimes, man, you got to revisit and you got to reconnect yourself with the hatred. You would walk into a Woolworth. The sign says whatever you go in, oh, we don't serve niggas in here. But I just want to get some, we don't serve niggas in here. You go to the movie theater, you had to sit at the top. It was a different color water fountain. You was at a counter, white people came in, you had to move out the way and they had to step up. That was going on for decades and decades in this country. That brother lived it. He knows what it's like to have that crap happen to him. So did Martin. They understood all of that. So what happened? Esau did a lot of things between the late 60s and the 80s. He did a whole lot. He had targets. He had files. He had to make moves. I'm telling you, man, this brother, I'm telling you, I know he must have regretted that, man, dealing with that damn not that Edomite woman who broke up that marriage. I don't give them one. No, something that happened was set up. Play on.
Civil rights. He was a student of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at Morehouse College in Atlanta and one of Dr. King's youngest foot soldiers. Bond helped launch the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, an influential force in the civil rights movement of the 1960s.
We got others to join us by demonstrating that we were willing to risk our lives to help.
This is the point I wanted to get. Why do you think he was willing to risk his life? It was because he had to set example for his black children. That daddy is not afraid to stand up so that you can have something in this country. Them white lawyers, they didn't have those worries. That's why the SP, when it first started, it did certain things to help protect black people. But later on, something changed, and part of it is because one of the co-founders left his black family and married a white woman. I'm telling you, you got to see it. Now, Go back to the video. I think it's number 7. Now we're going to show you. I was going to start with that, but I want to show. I led up to all this to show you today's SPLC is not the one that Julian Bond helped to co-found, that was fresh out of getting disrespected, water holes, getting bit by German shepherds. What he went through all of that, okay? It's a different organization. And we're going to show you. Number 7, I believe it is.
There are dangerous hate groups in America. Who will warn us about them? The media haven't answered.
The Southern Poverty Law Center. The Southern Poverty Law Center.
The Southern Poverty Law Center, based in that building in Alabama, calls itself the premier group monitoring hate groups. Looking at their map of such groups, you'd think America was consumed by hate. I once believed in the center's mission. Well-meaning people still do. Apple just gave them $1 million. But what donors don't know is that today the center smears people who don't deserve.
So this is the point I wanted to start off by showing, just like, for example, the Bloods and the Crips. They started off doing things positively within the black and brown communities. Something happened with the Bloods and the Crips where they started beefing against each other. And we got evidence. Now, listen, a lot of the sins that our people in is hatred, malice, and all that is within the black man. But I'm going to tell you something. There's been proof where white men have dressed up in realistic-looking black masks and started wars. And then all you see is someone with dark skin and this color on, you could set up a war. They did something after the 60s. They had to stop what was brewing from going to the next level. That's why they had to kill Martin. They killed Malcolm. They killed Stokely. They killed, who else did they kill? Fred Hampton. They killed a lot of brothers, man. It's because they knew that the enemy in the 60s was easy. You niggers get off my, you a nigger, get off my lunch counter. You niggers go home. It was very, and I love that because I want to know. I want to feel it from your ass. But now, when you dilute that, now you can divide. You can keep them separated. In the 60s, we were starting to come together. That's why in Genesis, give me Genesis 49. We started to rise up. We started to get up, and we came down. And that brother right there is a perfect example of a young lion rousing up. I'm telling you, bro, you got to see it for what. In the spirit, you see certain things. And this is why the SPLC is when it first started, it had good intentions with a brother like that brother we're talking about and his need to, willing to die for the cause, right? That's what he was saying earlier. And now it's a organization owned and operated and profited by Caucasians that seek to smear organizations that many do not deserve it, including Israel United in Christ, where we have not just black people, we've got Puerto Ricans and Dominicans and different shades of our 12 tribes of Israel who do things like community cleanups. We do volunteer work. We do fundraisers. We do all type of positive activity. We've never burned a cross in anybody's. We've never hurt anybody. And if we've ever had anybody that hurt anybody, they were put out before. And if any outrageous or egregious behavior, they're put out. You can't be an adulterer and stay. You got to go. You're a brawler. You got to go. According to the scriptures, we are a love group. Okay? So read that, please.
Genesis chapter 49 and verse 9.
Watch this.
Judah is a lion's whelp.
Right. Judah is the American black man. Okay? My brother here, what's his name? I forgot his name already. I just lost a lot of respect from that Horowitz woman. Julian Bond was that young lion. Raised up in 1940. W. Du Bois, all them coming through his house, historically black. He's seen his mom and his father. He said, you know what? I'm going to be a part of the struggle. Married a lovely sister, had 5 children, was willing to put his life on the line because of the color of his skin. He was being discriminated against openly in a thing called Jim Crow in the civil rights movement. Watch this. Read on.
From the prey, my son, thou art gone up.
Right. When you on the prey, you about to make the kill, you about to set it forth. But he went up. What took him up? Well, Esau had a whole plan in the 70s and the 80s, man. They had a whole plan. They got to a lot of our brothers. They had to kill the key figures first. Read on.
He stooped down. He crouched as a lion.
Right, ready to pounce. Right, ready to take it fully at this land, this Edomite here. Read on.
And as an old lion.
Now what? He fell asleep. So you go from a young lion, ready to pounce, ready to make a move, ready to rise up, and now you old. You ready to stand down. That's what old lions do. Old lions get killed or they just die off. You ready to back away. The revolutionary spirit goes away. Read on.
Who shall rouse him up?
Who shall rise him up? Well, we played it in the beginning. We rising up under Christ. That's why there's an army rising up. And we are an army that's going to stand together. We are an army that love our black and Hispanic women. And we will not bend the knee and bow and go deal with our enemies' women. We're not going to do that. We know who, like Muhammad Ali said, we know who they are. They're snakes. They were born up, not upright. They're your enemies, God says. Give me Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 48. I'm going to show you. This is where we fail. And it's not hate speech. We're reading the Bible. We are, according to Deuteronomy 28, 68, we are the ones who were sold into slavery on ships. We were the ones. So the enemies are the ones who did this to it. I can say that. That's not anti-Semitic. That's the truth. Read that.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 48.
Watch this.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
Who served their enemies? Read on.
Which the Lord shall send against thee.
Okay. We had people sent against us. Read on.
In hunger.
In hunger.
And in thirst.
In thirst.
And in nakedness.
And for all our wants and needs, or everything. Water, food, clothing. Read on.
And in want of all things.
Everything. Read on.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck.
That's talking about one man? One man? No, it was a whole nation. Read on.
Until he hath destroyed thee.
And that's why we're destroyed. And that's where we're destroyed. We're divided. You got Nation of Islam. You got black Episcopalian Christians. You got Lutherans. All on the same slave ships, same history, but we can't come together. It's amazing. Read on. That's it on that. Now, we almost done, y'all. Go back to I think it was a video.
No, is that today this smears people who don't deserve to be smeared.
The presence of radical Islam.
This woman grew up in Somalia, suffered female genital mutilation. So now she speaks out against radical Islam.
Now, hold
for
on.
that.
So she had parts of her body cut off. It was horrible, horrible, by radical Islam. So now she's speaking up for the men who happen to be that do that to women, which is wrong. And she is labeled as a hate group. So that's one example, right? So it's not just Israelite Christ they're doing it to. They're doing it to a lot of these different, and this is being reported by other news outlets, not just black people are reporting this. These are all, we're going to play on, read on, play on.
On its list.
Multiculturalism failed these communities.
This man was once an Islamic extremist, but then he decided radical Islam was wrong, and now he criticizes the radicals. The center labels him an anti.
So he was one of the ones that they would call an Islamic extremist. He reformed himself. Now he's saying what I did was wrong. And they saying he is part of a hate group. Do you see how simple this sounds? Furthermore, the original founder, one of the original two founders who was an attorney, was let go in 2019. You can read about it. They fired one of the co-founders. They had to let him go. They didn't fit the standards of the SPLC. And in 1994, a group of black men, black employees, brought forth a claim saying that he was. I'm gonna get that exact article, but I don't want to butcher that. But read on. Play on. Excuse me.
Two.
Join the fight against hate and bigotry.
Visit SPLCenter.org.
I do think that we have a problem with hate in this country.
We put about 10 of these major hate groups out of business.
The center's leader.
This guy right here, Richard Cohen, and this guy here, what's his he's the guy that got fired. He's the original founder, along with that Joseph Levy, and then the brother who came in 1971. Play on.
Morris Dees would not talk to me. So commentator Nomiki Kant stepped up to defend them.
They have a long history of fighting against extremists like the KKK.
History, yes, but they labeled skeptical Muslims like Ayaan Hirsi Ali as haters.
If you have a horrible experience with religion, that's one thing. It's another thing to use those experiences as ammunition against others who are practicing their religion peacefully.
But they're just speaking, criticizing it.
Of course she has the right.
So wait a minute. But we, as United in Christ, we practice our religion peacefully. We don't do crimes against people. We don't, we teach the Bible. And because we teach the Bible and people don't agree with that, where is our freedom to practice our religion according to you? I want you to see that this organization is a Caucasian, it is a Caucasian smear campaign agency that profits from people's donations. And you're going to see, play on.
As does the Southern Poverty Law Center has a right to push back.
We can stand together against hate.
The center also calls the Family Research Council a hate group.
The definition of a marriage is what it's been for 5,000 years. It's the union of a man and a woman.
I often disagree with the...
Hey, now this is where a lot of us who grew up with white TV, we needed to see this. So here's a white man with a white organization that preaches white family values, saying that, look, for 5,000 years it was a man and a woman, and that's what we're saying. We're preaching family values. He was labeled as a hate group, and we're going to find, play on, watch what happens.
But do they belong on this hate map?
When they don't agree with you politically, they're going to list you as a hater.
You are haters. You hate gays.
No, I don't hate gay people, and I know gay people, and I have worked with gay people.
But once you're labeled a hate group, you become a target.
Developing now, word of a shooting at the Family Research Council there in Washington.
One man was so enraged by what the center said about the...
This is where the this is what happens. You create a label, and that's what they've done with Israel United in Christ. That's what we have. We're not a hate group, right? Once that label came, this is an example of a man that went to their research center to kill people based upon the label that SPLC gave that organization. I'm telling you, this is a wicked and evil, okay? And they're affecting people. Where they first, he said, yeah, you have a history of helping people with defending people and helping shut down the KKK, who are known criminals, known violent, known harassing and terrorist organization. That's where they started, okay? But play on.
Shooting at the Family Research Council there in Washington.
One man was so enraged by what the center said about the Family Research Council.
Stop. He said one man was so enraged by what was said about the Family Research Council, a white organization. You saw the gentleman there. He went there with intentions to kill. Play on.
About the Family Research Council, he went to their headquarters to kill people.
A man shot a security guard in the arm.
Fortunately, that guard stopped the man before he could shoot anyone else.
He told the judge that he was there to kill as many of us as possible because we were a hate group.
The council's offices were attacked by a guy with a gun. I mean, they don't deserve this.
There's always extremists out there, and it's unfortunately...
And this is why our security is so important in our schools, and just every soldier and ranking man understand that we're at war. That by them labeling us a hate group, they're insinuating potential violence towards us. When we have our wives and our children, it's a family organization based upon faith and the belief in the Holy Bible. And to the point where before this show, we said we are not a hate group. Okay, and we have a hope because we're not. We've been falsely labeled, and we've got proof that this organization that all started altruistic with a brother that went through the civil rights, and everything's starting to change. And most recently, probably within the last 10 years, the SPLC has labeled people and smeared people like this family center, like the lady was mutilated by extreme Islam, by a man who used to be extreme Islamic, who repented, if you will, and now is talking against what he used to do. That's his experience. He's a hate group. Okay, play on.
There's always extremists out there, and it's unfortunately the world that we live in, and you know, hopefully people can kind of separate that.
The center also smears the Ruth Institute, a Christian group that believes gays should not have an equal right to adopt children.
Now hold up. See, and I'm going to show you. So now, this, I'm showing you. This is not, this is also another white organization. It's an organization that believes that the best possible outcome for an adopted child is a husband and wife, is the best. And she even goes to say that, look, there's certain situations where if the boy's uncle, who is his immediate family, happen to have a partner, that might be the best. And because she's labeled, they cut her website down. This is what the this is a white woman. Play on.
A Christian group that believes gays should not have an equal right to adopt children. They're not haters.
I like gay people. I have no problem with gay people. That's not the issue. The issue is, what are we doing with kids and the definition of who counts as a parent?
What if a gay couple had a civil union and adopted kids?
There could be cases where the best person for a particular child would be their Uncle Harry and his boyfriend. You know, that could be. But we owe it to the children to give them the best we can, which generally is a married mother and father.
See, you're a hater. When the center put her on its hate map, the Ruth Institute's bank sent her this letter.
We've determined that you're an organization that promotes hate, violence, harassment, and so therefore we're not doing business with you.
You hear
and
that?
We went and checked our website.
Her bank disassociated itself from a label from the SPLC. It says she's violent. You see what they did, that trigger words? That can cause and insinuate crime. The SPLC should be investigated by the FBI, and they should have charges brought upon them. Because if people get hurt from labels, I'm telling you, that's why y'all don't believe what they write about is united in Christ, because it's not true. Okay? Play on.
And so therefore we're not doing business with you. And we went and checked our website, and we were already down.
The Ruth Institute and the Family Research Council are still on the hate list.
There's no appeal. I sure don't know how you get off.
I suspect the center keeps its hate list long because crying hate brings in lots of money.
Morris Dees' salary is more than my entire annual budget. So yeah, whatever they're doing, it pays.
Years ago, Harper's Magazine reported that the center's the wealthiest civil rights group in America, one that spent most of its time and money on a fundraising campaign. Now, Morris Dees did once promise to stop fundraising once his endowment hit $55 million. But when he reached $55 million, he changed that to $100 million, saying that would allow them to cease costly fundraising. But when they reached $100 million, they didn't stop. Today,
they have an endowment that now is over $320 million, much of which is in offshore accounts, Caymans and places like that.
How do you know?
Oh, we look at their 990s.
And it says Cayman Islands?
Yeah.
They pay some of their people more than $400,000 a year.
Well, it's 2017. It costs a lot of money to exist in this world.
Give me a break. The Southern Poverty Law Center now lists people like...
Look, we wanted to show you that there's, when you pull back the covers and look at what's really going on, the SPLC, although it had its origins, in particular with a brother named Julian Bond, who went through certain civil rights struggles in his own personal life. His family went through it. He has a history of having ties to the struggle, right? And you see how it evolved, and some of the reason it evolved is because you had a black man that had the understanding of his people taken away from him. And he actually went and married a white woman. And I know many of you said that sounds wrong. No, it's not wrong. It's what's wrong by him going with her is wrong, biblically. So when we showed you the SPLC has been smearing many different organizations, not just Israel United in Christ. So you cannot take, and our prayer is that the Lord, some brothers and sisters will raise up who are brilliant legal minds and put them out of business, because they are they're smear tactics. And what they're doing is they're causing people to have other people attack them. We saw examples where men went to attack them because of the label. So we wanted to show you tonight the SPLC is more than what they say. That's why what they is so dangerous is when Kyrie Irving was being interviewed, the very first thing that they throw off their tongue is, oh, you know, Kyrie, there's about 100 guys with Israelite Christ standing outside their SPLC labels them a hate group. You see how quick they go to that? So he's quick in front of the national media where hundreds of millions of people watch Kyrie Irving in that interview. A lot of these people watch that. Now all they hear is Israelite Christ and hate group, hate group. What do you think that's going to do? And that's why our hope and prayer is that the Mossad just bring this organization down in a way that is through the law-abiding rules of courts and just put them out of business for their smear campaign. That's what's going on. So with that, Israel, look, we're going to keep pushing. I want to show, there was one more thing, but we're actually out of time. We are out of time. What time is it? Bear with me. 11:20. There was one more. Oh, gosh, I don't have enough for that, do I? Nope. Shoot. No. Get me, do you have the most recent, we did something in New Orleans. I wanted to show that if it's available. Okay. So we're going to show you, recently we came from New York. The very next week we were in New Orleans, and we continue to push even in the rain. We're out there in the rain and just pushing this truth and being a light to our people. And we're going to continue to push this truth. And we are not a hate group, okay? The brothers in this room, we have wives, children. We take care of our families. We're faithful. We follow the laws of the land. We hold jobs, okay? We're upstanding citizens to the best of our ability, okay? And that's who we are. But when we're unapologetically the 12 tribes of Israel, and we don't need to apologize for the fact that we're the real Jews. That's not anti-Semitic. It's the truth, because we can prove it with the Holy Scriptures. So play that.
What you think about what you see out here? I love it.
You're the Israelite like you are. Yeah.
What do you think about what you see?
I think it's a powerful movement, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to look at the address on the back. I'm going to check y'all out.
I know I'm a Hebrew Israelite. I'm woke. I'm woke, baby.
I see hunters slaying demons. I see fire on this earth coming down like Hiroshima. I see prophets rising up, prophesy. They outside of the rain, y'all. They outside of the rain. It's for real, y'all. It's for real. I see it. I see it. I see it. I see it. Yeah.
Y'all pause that real quick.
We was in the rain.
In the
Cold,
rain.
Chilly.
In the rain. Do you see the positivity that just that little, that few number of men brought to the community, but they call that a hate group. Yet you got Balenciaga out here who's pushing pedophile ads, and they don't have them listed on the Southern Poverty Law Center hate group list. And if you look into the word Balenciaga, it actually goes into, it means Baal is king. And we know in the Bible that we were sacrificing our children to Baal. Wow. But that's not on the Southern Poverty Law Center hate group list. But you want to put IUIC on the hate group list, and we're inspiring our people?
Wherever we go, we get positive reactions because we out there saying things. We sing songs to try to motivate our people to change. We have one that we say, hey brothers, do you have a girlfriend? It's time to be that man and get married. We're singing about that because a lot of black brothers, we play games out. A lot of play games, and the 12-year-old girlfriend been living with for 11 years. That brother, it's time to do the right thing. That's what we teach. We teach a message of hope, inspiration, and wherever we go, we get positive reactions from our people, because when we go, we come together in unity. So we're not a hate group. And I just wanted to show you that SPLC had an understanding in the beginning about civil rights and struggle. There was a black man who was through the struggle, and something changed within the organization. And starting about the 90s, in the spirit, that brother disassociated himself with the struggle, married Miss Horowitz, and divorced his wife and their 5 children. Okay, now his children, obviously, they still went on. But the point is, I wanted you to see this more to the SPLC than meets the eye. And they have a history of smearing, and there's much more you can learn about them. So hopefully you want to research this and to find out that this organization needs to be shut down. All right, so with that, we're precept upon precept. We have anything else? Brothers, thanks for staying with us. I know it's late.
Hey, look, make sure y'all give alms because this movement, it's not going to be, it's televised right now, and it's not going to always be televised. But if you need a congregation in your city, you got to give alms. If you do want to see these shows continue, give alms. If y'all want the truth to give out to the four corners of the earth, give alms. You can do so at to the Booster Club at IUIC.fundraising at IsraelUnite.org. If you want to give to Precept Upon Precept, you can do so via PayPal at IUIC.NewOrleans at IsraelUnite.org. And make sure y'all give to y'all local schools. Y'all can drop alms in the alms box.
Hey, all praise to the Most High. We have coming up, y'all, coming up, the feast, the opening of the Feast of Dedication is right around the corner. Y'all getting the spirit. Okay, that's a holiday of our forefathers overcoming and rising up and standing up in the face of their enemy and overcoming the Feast of Dedication. And that's why I'm gonna leave it alone. I just can't see how the men that call themselves Jewish fit the mighty men of the Maccabees. It just really, the spirit, and I'm not saying it being funny. I don't see it. When I see those men who call, I see a very plain people. I don't see people with life and energy. I don't see people with they're not the salt of the earth. You understand? And that's what we're trying to show you. We are the light. We are the light to the world. So with that, we precept upon precept. Thanks for staying with us. We way over. It's 11:30. Appreciate y'all. Most High and Christ bless Israel. Shalom.
Shalom.
Joseph.